I extend her bid.
I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby enters into a closed meeting for the purposes of discussing the following. Section 2.23711-5, discussion concerning a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry. And pardon me, I'm all stopped up. Where no previous announcement has been made of the business or industry interest in locating or expanding its facilities in the community, namely project number 2017-34. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins? Mr. King?
Yes.
Ms. Biggs? Aye. Mr. Motts? Aye. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Is there a motion to come out of closed meeting?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs? Aye. Mr. Motts? Aye. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Certification of closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative and recorded vote and in accordance with provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.23711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia hereby certifies to the best of each member's knowledge only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board. And this certification is our Board's word to you that we're not talking about things that we're not supposed to be talking about in closed session. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts? Aye. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item on our agenda is a moment of silence. I'm going to ask us all to rise and observe a moment of silence, and then I'll ask the County Administrator to lead us in the pledge.
Let us pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is recognition of acts of heroism. The Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff are going to present a resolution of recognition and plaques to honor the following individuals and their acts of heroism. Dwayne Janey, Joey Griffith, Zach Duncan, Deputy Josh Oakley, Thomas Willis, Lucas Wilt. And so I'm going to ask the board to come down here and so we can all recognize these heroes that live amongst us. Sure.
Because it's not.
Good evening. Can everybody hear me? As Chair Tuck just explained, he gave you the names of the first 4 individuals we're going to recognize tonight. These are all first responders, and couldn't be prouder to be doing this. So a brief summary of this incident that these individuals were involved in involves a vehicle crash that occurred on October 7th, 2017 in our county. On this date, firefighter Zach Duncan and firefighter Joey Griffith arrived to find a female trapped from the waist down inside an overturned vehicle. The vehicle was fully engulfed in flames. Duncan and Griffith immediately ran to the vehicle and attempted to lift the vehicle off the driver. Their attempt was unsuccessful. As the two were devising an alternative plan to move the vehicle, Deputy Josh Oakley with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office arrived on scene and assisted Duncan and Griffith with lifting the car off of the driver long enough for Civilian Officer Janney to pull the driver out from under the vehicle. At this time, Oakley and Duncan carried the driver to safety, where Duncan and Griffith administered first aid until EMS arrived on the scene. The actions of those involved most assuredly saved the driver from severe injuries or death. And we have named our award after a true hero to all of us, especially at the Sheriff's Office, and a true hero to the citizens of Montgomery County, Eric Sutton. So, I can't tell you how much that means coming from us to you all. So, if one at a time, if we could have Dwayne Janney step forward. I'm going to read the certificate once for the first responders and once for the following two that we call up. Montgomery County Sheriff's Office, Eric E. Sutton Award for Heroism. This acknowledges that Dwayne Janney, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office recognizes the heroic actions taken on October 7, 2017 to save the life of a fellow citizen. Your selfless act of courage in the face of danger makes you a true first responder hero. We have medals for each of the first responders. They're inscribed on the back with Eric E. Sutton Award for Heroism, October 7th, 2017. And they have our Sheriff's Office coin on the front.
We also have a resolution from the Board of Supervisors recognizing the same bravery that the sheriff has just so eloquently discussed. Thank you so much.
Joey Griffith. Zach Dunn. Deputy Oakley. gonna need to squeeze it. Can we get that back?
Yes, go up. Go over there.
Oh, that's right.
Premature.
Our second incident involves two employees of Best Buy who rendered aid to an elderly driver who had been involved in a motor vehicle crash. The crash occurred on Indian Valley Road on the morning of October 10, 2017 in Montgomery County. The employees, Mr. Thomas Willis and Mr. Lucas Wilt, noticed smoke coming from a crashed vehicle. They immediately stopped and approached the scene. At this time, they observed an individual later determined to be the driver laying on the ground beside the crashed vehicle, which was on fire. While Mr. Will called 911, Mr. Willis approached the vehicle and carried the driver to safety. At some point after removing the driver from danger, the crashed vehicle exploded and was engulfed in flames. Mr. Willis and Mr. Wilt continued to render first aid to the driver until such time EMS workers arrived on the scene. The action of Mr. Wilt and Mr. Willis are heroic. They will willingly place themselves at risk to aid another citizen. Had they not taken action, the driver of the vehicle most likely would have suffered severe injuries or death. These two awards differ slightly as they are given to civilians, but they're still given with all our heart and in memory of Eric. The awards state Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Citizens Hero Award. This acknowledges that, in this case, Thomas Willis, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office recognizes the heroic actions taken on October 10, 2017 to save the life of a fellow citizen. Your selfless act of courage in the face of danger makes you a true citizen hero. Mr. Willis? And from the Geek Squad, too.
Resolution passed by the Board of Supervisors recognizing your heroic acts and safely appreciate. Thank you.
Mr. Wilt?
Actually, one second, you guys open those up for me? Sure. Facing towards the camera. Thanks, Liz.
What are you doing?
We also have, the board last week passed a resolution in recognizing the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad. Specifically, the resolution states as follows, and forgive me, I'm going to need to get the glasses out. Whereas the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad is an all-volunteer rescue organization which provides a high level of professionalism and services to its community. And whereas the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad is a cornerstone of service and community support in the town of Blacksburg and portions of Montgomery County. And whereas the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad exemplifies outstanding professionalism and service by maintaining a system of pure accountability and high personal and professional standards of all of its members. And whereas, in addition to traditional emergency services, the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad provides highly trained technical rescue services to the region and to the state, such as vehicle extraction, wilderness search and rescue, swift water and dive, trench, confined space, and vertical and cave rescue. And whereas members of the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad recently traveled to Norfolk, Virginia for the annual Governor's Conference EMS Awards ceremony to accept the Governor's Award for the Outstanding EMS Agency of 2017. And whereas the Governor's Award is presented to the EMS agency that exemplifies outstanding professionalism and service to its community, whose high level of patient care is evident by its innovative training, community awareness, preventative health programs, public relation efforts, and participation in local and regional statewide EMS. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors that it hereby extends congratulations to the Blacksburg Volunteer Rescue Squad for their accomplishments and outstanding public service and dedication. Okay? Congratulations.
I'll give it a shot of you cake.
Okay. Social media.
Grab one like this. Thank you.
Try again.
Those are fun.
Yeah, those are. The next item on our agenda is public address. This is where the Board of Supervisors has an opportunity to listen to folks who have some things to say to us. It's not necessarily our turn to respond back. Each citizen will be given 5 minutes, and you need to state your name and address. We have one person signed up, and that is Susan Sink.
And I don't believe Susan is here this evening. Susan had called in advance, but she's not here with us this evening.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the
Do you
board?
have a paper copy of the agenda?
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Seeing no one else coming forward on public address, I'm going to go ahead and close that.
Chair Tuck, I think it would be nice to recognize that we have Delegate-elect Chris Hurst sitting in our audience tonight to learn what we're all about here with this going on tonight. So,
Welcome. Good seeing you. We'll be sending you a legislative, probably send you a legislative dinner, and we would really like to get rid of some split precincts. That being said, I don't believe we have an addendum. Is there a motion in regards to consent agenda?
so moved.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts? Aye. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next is new business, VDOT Revenue Sharing Program, fiscal year 2019-2020 VDOT Revenue Sharing Funds. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
These are based on the recommendations of our planning department, correct?
They
They're
are.
prioritized in the order that is most likely to receive funding
receive
based on
funding.
the scoring.
Yes, ma'am, and this is what, we reviewed this with the board at a work session a couple of meetings ago, I believe, and this is to appropriate the funds that we would be applying for. And the reason we're doing it for a 2-year period is with revenue sharing and smart scale now, you apply every other year. So this is to
Right.
cover the 2-year period.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Second is county fiscal year 2017 year-end carryover request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Any discussion? All right.
Why did you want to have some or something?
I kept looking and I thought that Mr. Motts had something to say. And
I asked several questions of Craig earlier today just to understand how things were funded and how we arrived at these numbers. And Craig did answer all of my questions.
And I also called Craig and spoke to him about some of the items on here, but
I don't believe the sheriff is still with us. I know that there was one item that I had some concerns about, but see if he's out in the lobby. I think I may not be the only one that has any concerns or issues. And I may be, and if I'm the only one, then we can move on. Okay. I apologize for the delay. It is Captain Hollingsworth, or am I giving you a promotion? Lieutenant? Sorry about that. Is the sheriff on his way?
He's doing an interview with the media.
I tell you what, well, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs? Aye. Mr. Moss?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item is subject C, Reiner Volunteer Fire Department, specifically Capital Reserve. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Now, if nobody else has anything to say, I do have something
I
to say.
thought
in
Todd was
regards
going to say something.
Okay, or, I mean,
Go ahead.
no, I'll step out.
No, you go right ahead.
Well, couple of things. So the Fire and Rescue Commission, y'all know I serve as liaison, and there is a serious problem with our departments being able to communicate and having multiple radios and getting them all on the same bandwidth and then with different frequencies so they can communicate with one another is an important step. This $115,000 is an important step towards that, but it's just a step. It is probably going to be close to $500,000 to $600,000. And so when we're talking about potentially looking at that kind of expenditures, I was going to ask if, and I know Reiner has done a lot of work to get the bid ready and get it ready for December, and they need to go forward with that to be able to provide their savings. I was going to ask if we would consider holding off a vote and sending it through the Fire and Rescue, asking them to meet early, give them an opportunity to look at this. They typically meet on the third Thursdays, but I would ask them to convene on the second Thursday, provide their input, and moving forward. But I also want to make sure to understand that this is just the first step and that we're going to need to come up with $500,000 or $600,000 in the next year to be able to upgrade everyone's radios so everyone's on the same abilities. And I know that there's a motion and a second. Is there a willingness to set that aside? I'll ask the Fire and Rescue to convene a week early and then allow me to report back of what they say in regards to this expenditure.
Can we just table it until the meeting in December?
That's what I'm asking.
Okay, well, I will move it, that we table it until the next meeting, which is December 18th.
Correct. December the 18th? There's...
Yes.
Now, is that Marty, and help me make sure I follow the Robert's Rules of Order. In regards to that, there's a motion and a second. Now, I don't remember if Annette made the motion.
Someone would need a second, and that's motion.
Okay, is there a second to tabling it? Second. Okay.
Get that?
Now, any discussion about tabling it?
I'd be interested to hear what Mr. King's feedback on that is, just because he's so closely tied to the volunteer fire department in Reiner. If that creates an operational challenge, if that creates any kind of logistical problems, or if that's sufficient for the needs of the fire department.
Well, the only thing I'd say, we had several people working on it. Of course, two of them, Maven and Jerry, worked hard on it for about 2 years. And the money's all they're waiting on. I mean, they got their last papers signed today.
And I know that some other departments are working towards that. I think that Reiner may have the lead because they're there. But the Fire and Rescue, and maybe I'm not as good a liaison as I should be, the way that one group will say, hey, listen, I can wait another year for my truck. Hey, they need it more in McCoy. Those folks commit a lot of time to that commission. And I really think that when we start talking, because really we're going to end up talking about $500,000 or $600,000. And yes, Reiner's in the lead on this one, but we're going to have to decide, well, maybe we're only going to have $250,000. Is that going to take care of Blacksburg, or is that going to take care of, we're going to do two small departments to take care of Elston? Is there going to be all the $500,000? And that kind of expenditure, I think, is important to go through that Fire and Rescue because of their expertise and their commitment to our community. And so that's all I'm asking. And like I said, I recognize the work that Reiner has done to get to where they're at today. And I want them to see that move forward. And we do have this $115,000 available at this point in time. But in thinking about the creation of the fire and rescue, this whole design was really to look at these bigger projects that affect all the departments to make sure they're all working together.
So, just so I understand, so this takes care of Reiner for that part?
This takes care of Reiner to have their radios.
So they can talk to anybody?
They can, but now we've got other folks who can't talk.
I understand that.
And so, like Elliston right now is not, and I don't know as of today they've gotten their frequencies, and I did not get a chance to talk with Neil. Other agencies have gotten the frequencies, but they haven't gotten necessarily the bids on the radios. There may be a potential of some savings if we go to buy $500,000 worth of radios. That may be a savings in and of itself. When you go to buy that many radios together, you may be able to get a discount. I know at some of the head of the 911 authority, he has looked at potentially buying, so everybody makes sure that everybody works together, because as we saw with the body cameras, but this is going to be a lot more expensive than body cameras. And so I just wanted to try to...
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought...
I just wanted, this has never been presented to the Fire and Rescue Committee?
And it hasn't yet. And it's not, there is a radio committee that's working towards it. And I'll tell you, at one point in time, if we wanted to upgrade and have the perfect radio system, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars. So this is a fix, but it isn't the permanent, everything perfect fix. This is just a step towards getting where we're all working in a more, unified. I mean, I called Todd one morning, and he's had to hold a Christiansburg radio and a Reiner radio, and they're trying to fight a fire. Well, that to communicate to one another, and so that's not the best way. And if we can upgrade this to get these folks who respond voluntarily on a basis, that's what I'd like to do. But at the same time, go through the Fire and Rescue Commission and get their input as well.
I just have a question. Why was this on the agenda then?
Well, as any supervisor wants to put it on the agenda, Todd had asked me, just like if any, in my policies always...
So Todd, you was, going back to what April said, is there a problem not acting on this tonight? I mean...
I think we just need to act on it before December. Is that correct? Yes. Am I before January 1?
Can I address it?
Yeah, come on.
Oh, you mean before December 1, huh?
Yeah, no, January 1.
Okay.
Or December 31st.
Okay.
What we're right in the middle of, Christiansburg, town Christiansburg is updating their whole system. And we have worked with them and designed this so that it would work on their equipment. And they are in the process of installing that equipment right now. So the longer we wait, they're going to have to go back, put their equipment in, and turn right around and go back and put our equipment in. So there's going to be more cost involved in having to do the job twice. We have, like I said, worked very closely with Christiansburg, with Procom, which is the contractor for the county, and they feel that this is the best system that we can install at this point. I know Elliston does not have their frequencies yet. They haven't started the planning phase yet. We started this 2 years ago, and we've worked very hard so that we could save a lot of savings by going on a microwave system, which is what Christiansburg has purchased.
So,
Can I? Go ahead.
So would a couple of weeks of delay, say a 2 to 3 week delay, compromise your ability to institute the new equipment with Reiner at the same time as Christiansburg's installation of the new equipment? Would that result in 2 installations if there was a 2 to 3 week delay?
I haven't been given a timetable yet because we haven't given Procom a purchase order yet. So I can't really answer that truthfully.
Okay. And then I speculate, and you can confirm, that if the Reiner Volunteer Fire Department is responding to something and they need backup, it would be most likely that it would be Christiansburg coming in to provide that backup. Am I correct in that assumption? Okay. Thank you.
And right now, just like, the car fire, we've, had several, bad wrecks, things like that. We don't even know when the rescue squad is going to come to respond to us. And we have people that are working on the victims and they're saying, where's the rescue squad at? And honestly, I'd say I don't know.
Because you're not on the same radio. Okay.
From my discussions, maybe with Neil and a little bit with Todd, they thought if we were able to vote before or in our 1 December meeting, that would be okay. Do you think, based on, you had said that you weren't 100% sure, but if Mr. Hanks with Christiansburg and Neil thought it would be okay, that's what you're waiting on to make sure it's installed at the exact same time as Christiansburg, is that right?
What we was waiting on was a letter from the town of Christiansburg stating that we could use their equipment. And we received that letter today.
Okay. Okay. And that was Billy giving that to you? Was it, or that was Joe Cole with Rescue Squad? Okay. All right. Is that all?
Well, I can either withdraw the table motion, or we can vote it down if you don't want it, or we can let it stand and vote for it, if I'm correct, so that we can run it by the commission meeting. Is that correct?
Is that going to throw you a curveball?
I'm just afraid if we keep delaying it and it goes to the fire and rescue, that if they've got questions and if they differ on opinions, that it will drag it out to the point where we're going to be in the next year sometime. And then that's definitely going to cause us more money.
And you've already been working on this for 2 years to get to this point tonight.
That's correct. Yes. And I know that Christiansburg's plan was not run through the Fire and Rescue Commission.
But the town of Christiansburg is paying for that one, correct? So there are no, and Christiansburg doesn't have a Fire and Rescue Commission, correct, itself? They're part.
Billy and Joe is on the county, and so they have a say-so basically through the county side.
Right, but all their funds to upgrade their radios. The town of Christiansburg is not asking for any money from the town, the county. It's they're taking it through all their soft billing, is my understanding.
Yeah. Now, we did have a meeting back in March with all the town and county officials. The sheriff's department, the town of Blacksburg, and we sat down and we asked, okay, what's the goal of the county? And they asked, do you want to go to a one-band frequency? And at that point, Reiner stepped up and stated, yes, we definitely will do this. So everybody on that commission knows that that was our plans back in March.
And the commission's just an advisory board, so if we still wanted to vote on it in our meeting, we could still do that. It's just, they're not a policy-making board, it's just an advisory board.
On the subject of tabling it,
Withdraw that. I'll put it down.
you're withdrawing that? The
I
motion
can
to
withdraw
table?
it. Who was the second? All right, do you want to withdraw it? Oh, do you or don't you?
I don't see, well, I don't understand enough about it to say one way or the other.
I guess
I don't understand why we're waiting.
and I will tell you that there's a lot of things that have happened in the past. Before the Fire and Rescue Commission, I had a chance to talk with Bill Brown, and I said, because I joined it, and he said that there used to be every department would come in and have a request. And if there was a little bit of money, then they would make a request, and the Fire and Rescue itself became political. So the Fire and Rescue Commission was created to make it not political. Do you understand what? And so that was the purpose, to try, and I understand what his concerns are, that it might get delayed. Well, if they can't make a recommendation, then okay, it falls back on us. But I sure would like to run it through the folks who show up every month, every Thursday, who, to a person, say, hey, Charlottesville, you need a new rescue squad vehicle, we can run ours another year. Same folks that say, hey, look, we're with Christiansburg, you can use our towers, and just tie on to it. To give them a chance to run it by, but also, folks, to say that I had this conversation with y'all, and we're going to try to find that money for those other radios for those other departments, is an important step in making sure that there's support so it's not just one department fixed, but that we're looking to fix as many departments as we possibly can. Now, not everybody's as far along as them, and so should Reiner go first? It seems to make a lot of sense to me, but I still think we ought to run it through the Fire and Rescue Commission.
Well, the only other thing I could offer would be that, you know, we have 2 other times we're going to meet, right? Like December 4th, I guess we're having a PSA meeting, is that correct? And December 11th, we're having a legislative meeting. I mean, I could see that, but you're saying that you wouldn't have this group meet until December what?
They normally meet the 3rd Thursday of the month.
When do they?
And so I talked with Neil, and I said, is there a way that we can get them to meet on the 14th?
Oh, so that wouldn't help.
So that would be before our meeting. I did not ask, and Neil indicated that he believed that he could get folks to move that meeting up a week. And so we're talking about really 2 weeks from today. Well, 2 weeks and a few days. So about 16, 17 days.
Okay, and then my other question would be, wouldn't it be the goal of us as a Board of Supervisors, since we're responsible for public safety of our citizens, wouldn't it be a goal that you would have everything in place so that people could communicate across the county? Because this isn't the first time this has come up since I've been on the board, and I thought that we were working towards solving that. Maybe I
There is a
had
committee
it wrong,
in the
but
Fire and
I
Rescue.
thought that we were supposed to be getting everybody on the same page because it's critical, and it was very critical. You know, we've had some disasters in this community, including the one at Virginia Tech where people couldn't talk to each other. So.
And we have accomplished that on the law enforcement side, but we have not accomplished that on fire and rescue.
Is it a goal?
Yes, absolutely, but it's a multi-million-dollar goal.
Okay, so let me ask you this, Chris. So you're thinking that if this goes back to the task force,
Or the Fire and Rescue Commission.
right, that they wouldn't support it?
No, I'm not saying that they wouldn't support it. I'm saying, though, that they may say, hey, look, this is a great idea. We didn't realize that they got this bid. It's every department also see, but it also says, hey, look, this is the way we're going to do it, and look at it and how to make sure. Maybe they're going to be able to provide some input and say, have you thought about doing it this way? Because we have a different system. Just like there's 7 of us and we make better decisions, I think, when we all flesh things out and take into consideration, there may be different viewpoints on that fire and rescue that bring different things to the table.
Well, if he's been working on it, they've been working on it for 2 years, has the Fire and Rescue Commission not discussed it?
He said that they talked about it in March.
As far as, I haven't looked at the agenda as far as that was not a fire and rescue meeting that I recall that he was discussing. There is a radio fire and rescue committee meeting. There was a number that was put out, you know, we're talking about if we want the perfect system, tens of millions of dollars. So this is really a Band-Aid.
It's a step.
Or a step on moving where we want to be. But there is a real purpose for that Fire and Rescue Commission.
I understand totally.
Yes, sir.
If we know we've got money coming in, or we can get money, whichever way it goes there, why would we want to sit here and snob about everything coming along? Let's do it, get the people where that they are ready to go, and they won't do it before they're supposed to, or after they're supposed to. They're going to do it when they can, and as quickly as they can. And I just don't see the run around the mulberry bush to me.
Well, like I said, I'm just on, and maybe I haven't been as good a liaison as I should have been. I'll take some of the blame. But there is a fire and rescue radio group Is it as far along as what they've done? No, it's not. But like down at Elston, they haven't gotten the frequencies yet, so they're not as far along. We don't have the prices for those, but maybe we buy all the radios here in December. Maybe we're coming back and they're going to say, by the way.
That's what I'm getting at.
Well, that's what he's saying.
But as far as running it through the fire rescue, they may say, okay, we can buy this many radios at his price, and we're going to buy $500,000. And we're going to come back to this board, and we're going to say, okay, where's the $500,000 going to come from? And that's something that we've got to look at. But at least they will have had that opportunity. The folks from Elliston will have that opportunity. The folks from Blacksburg will have that opportunity. The folks from McCoy will have that opportunity. Now, Christiansburg is already up to speed. And like I said, the town is using the soft billing money that the town of Christiansburg generates, is my understanding, to pay for theirs. And somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. So there's a motion and a second in regards to tabling. Is there any more?
I think she withdrew her motion.
Did you withdraw your motion? Or?
I said I will withdraw the motion if that's what the board wishes to do, or it's better to just vote it down.
Or you could even accept another motion with a second.
Okay.
Well,
Well, we can accept the motion to go ahead and proceed.
Right now, the motion is to table it till the 18th and send it to the commission. So you could vote for that, you can withdraw that, or you can the board could entertain a third motion.
Yeah.
Vote it up.
So are folks ready to vote on the motion to table?
Yes.
That's what I think should be done.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Creed.
Aye.
Ms. Perkins.
I have to say aye because I made the motion, but I'm tentative if that's not good for what you do.
Ms. Biggs.
Aye.
Mr. Box.
No.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Mr. King.
No.
Chair Tuck.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes, 2 no.
All right. Next item on the agenda, and I promise you, I will be calling Neil to get that meeting set up and get it done and get it on there. I'll move that forward. Next item on our agenda is County Attorney's Report.
Actually, I have just a small minor report on this past Tuesday. As everyone knows, the county closed on the old Blacksburg High School property for $3 million. It was you guys had agreed to a structured payment. The county on Tuesday received $1 million. We'll receive an additional $1 million on April of 2019, and then the final $1 million to be on April of 2020. So we no longer own that property. That's all I have.
I will say one thing. A couple of the maintenance guys came up to me when they said, asked me why I was here, and I said, I'm here to sign the deed to that. And they said, thank God we won't have to fix anything. We won't have to go up there and relock the doors.
And I also sent out emails to the groups that were using the property and notified them and told them, to contact the new owners if they were interested in continuing the use of the properties.
All right, County Administrator's Report.
Well, I actually wasn't going to have a report, but I'm going to tag on to what the last thing Marty said, because one person that deserves a lot of recognition for helping manage that process during the interim is our county attorney. Marty mentioned that he contacted the folks that had been using some of the fields out there. In addition to his day job as county attorney, Marty had worked with several community groups who actually invested in the property out there. They kept the fields up, they kept the fields mowed. Those fields, even though, those fields were serving a recreation use for people in the community. And Marty coordinated all that. So, Marty, thank you for all your work on that.
Sure.
Yes.
That's all I have. And what he said about selling the property. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Supervisor DeMonts.
No report.
Golly, good. I'm glad I took my eyes. Supervisor Shepherd.
I just want to make a comment on what we just voted on. I got to thinking that Fire and Rescue Commission is there for a reason. And I think if we have them there for a reason, we should use them, just like the Planning Commission. And so that's why I decided to give them their fair shot. That's all.
Supervisor Creed. Supervisor Perkins.
Not much of anything except to say that we need to, stand behind what we just did. And if any time between now and what we've appointed, that you can't get the Fire and Rescue Commission together or the people cannot meet, then we have an opportunity 2 times closer to be able to deal with it than that. Now, I know we have that the motion says to take it up, I guess, at the next meeting, which is on the 18th. Marty, in order to take it up ahead of time, all we have to do is rescind that motion because of the date.
Well,
If we want to do it on December 4th, for instance.
Right, yeah, I mean, well, you could ask for it to put on the agenda, and the board could then consider it at that point.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you. That's all.
Supervisor Biggs.
Yeah, I also want to say something about that because I was under them, I think I misvoted. I'm supporting the Reiner, I'm supporting the whole effort because I know that my vote didn't make any sense, but anyway, I'm supporting your whole effort because I think it's very important. It's something that's come before us before that I've always believed in. And sometimes it takes someone stepping out to be the leader to make that first step happen, and then other people can follow. So I want you guys to know I do support it, and I'm looking forward to having it come back. And it would be really helpful if we could find out, like if you are under pressure to get it done with the, so that it doesn't cause an extra expense, can you get that information to us? So we can, okay, thank you so much. And then the only other thing I wanted to tell you is that for community services boards this year, the state is going to ask them again to come to each locality to ask for more money. And so I sort of wanted to give you the heads up on that the state is not backing down from pressuring the local community services boards to go to every single locality. Last year, they said you had to go to the locality and ask for a 10% increase, and of course that didn't happen anywhere. But and it couldn't because it would be way too expensive. So just know that they'll be coming to ask for a small increase, not a 10%, and that's it.
Supervisor King.
Well, I appreciate each one of you. I know all 6 of you support first responders. I know that.
Yes, I know.
And I do appreciate it.
Right.
As far as the awards given out tonight, I mean, that was really exciting for them. It really was. But not to take anything away from them, but every day regular citizens does things like that. They really do. And I want to tell Sheriff how much I appreciate you bringing that to our attention and doing what you did for them and this board too. Thank you.
I don't have a report. This meeting is adjourned.
Just like that.